Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a while, I have to say. And you know what? Like, we all at some point, whether you're a spiritualist or a healer or whether you're an astrologer or whatever you may be doing, and whatever is your passion, every once in a while we get drawn out into the living world and we have to deal with issues that are going on in our lives, day to day lives. So if you're one of those people like I am, then you just need to take some breaths, try and center yourself, and just deal with the things that are arriving in your life. And many people are extremely busy with various activities or decision making that has to take place. So we've entered June here, and we have a lot of Gemini energy, which makes things move very, very quickly. And I'm going to talk about the June 14th new moon that's set to arrive. We just are coming out of that blue moon. And so that could have brought some unusual events, once in a blue moon, right? And it was in Sagittarius. So we're really focused on truth and justice and ethics and morals as we come out of that energy. And there's a couple things going on here because June is kind of a pivotal month. And I quite often have said that 2026, although it's the year of the fire horse, so it's really fast moving anyway in its energy, that we come the middle of this year are going to transport ourselves over a type of threshold. And this month of June can be that moment where you're making decisions, crucial decisions about how you're going to progress forward in your lives. And where that ends up can be anything. It's the unknown territory. And the reason for this is because Uranus, the planet that has just stepped into Gemini here, and it's sitting almost at 2 degrees 52 minutes of the sign on June 14th at the new moon energy, is that Jupiter is squaring the nodes, and those are points in space that create the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. And according to Chinese astrology, we are moving and should always be moving towards that north node or the dragon's head. But the south node is comfortable, it's easy, it's the place where we feel that the usual becomes the norm. So it's very difficult to pull ourselves out of that comfortable energy and into some sort of foreign energy that we're not very familiar with. And because the North Node is in Pisces, this creates the illusion of expectations as well. And what we hope to happen may not be what is going to happen. And things could seem like they're in an element of deception to some degree, or that things are deceptive. And is that going to come out into the open? And the answer to some degree is yes, it is. But at this point, in the early days of June, we could feel like we don't have control of things, that we're scattered in our energy and things are moving too swiftly for us to get a hold of things and really tap into the solidifying energy of it. It's hard to nail it down. So, Gemini is an air element. It is about thinking, it's about the mind, but it's also about the body and the agility of the body and the fast moving energy of the expressions that we're making. You know, sometimes the expressions are worth more than the words. And so there's this dialogue that's going on in our minds that can be transported outward. Now, because Uranus is in Gemini, the new moon is going to be in Gemini, we could really tap into some of this social media AI evolution that is happening. And it's really a revolution. People are talking to ChatGPT, they're using it as their psychologists, their therapists, they answer and argue with ChatGPT. And the other platforms, which I find to be more reliable, such as Gemini, which really plugs into that Google energy of information, or even Microsoft Copilot. So these platforms are really going to be top of mind this month, and maybe some new discoveries are going to emerge, or new seeds of inventions are going to arrive at this new moon. So this month is full of twists and turns of us changing our minds. We can seem like we're inconsistent, that we say one thing, but somebody comes along and sets us straight and we change our minds. So it's a mutable energy, and there isn't a lot of energy that is holding us down to the ground, except for Mars is in Taurus. But even Mars in Taurus is ruled by the fast-paced moving energy of Venus, who is newly in Leo by the time the new moon comes. And then, but prior to that, she's in Cancer. So it gives kind of this watery feeling energy to our expressions and to our dialogue that's coming out. It can be very passionate and protective as we speak our desires. So this can also tap into things like transportation. We could see new evolutions in technologies, the mail system and the mail delivery system. So we could hear a lot of news because Gemini is the medium by which the news comes forward. So this can bring up new topics of conversation this new moon. And it can really get a little exaggerated because Mercury is involved here. Mercury at the beginning of the month is out of bounds. And that means that people are saying things or doing things that could be beyond acceptability. Things could be exaggerated or overstated or repeated because Gemini is involved here to a large extent. And Mercury is ruling this Uranus and the new moon energy. Now, Venus also is out of bounds, but for a very short time, just for the first week of June. And so we could see this need to be connected, this need to be part of something greater than ourselves in Cancer. And that, of course, is important as we move forward. So the new moon arrives on June the 14th at 8:55 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and Central Standard Time. And it is at 10:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7:55 Pacific Standard Time. So this new moon, like all new moons, brings fresh perspectives. It plants the seeds of something new. A new topic of discussion can begin to play itself out. A new problem that needs to be resolved. And we must be cautious that we have the correct information. So if you are relying on some of those social platforms, you have to be and make sure that you double check everything because Gemini is a double sign. Things can mean more than one thing with this energy. It's a really scattered and it can quickly spiral out of control. So that is important that we keep that energy contained or in check to some degree. Sometimes Gemini, the twins, one of them is quiet and listens, and the other one is very talkative. So pay attention to which one of those sides of the twins that you would like to be. Sometimes we can't help ourselves. We just spill out how we're feeling. So Chiron and has been and is at this point at 29 degrees of Aries. So that's a precarious situation or precarious position for Chiron to be in. And Chiron is the healer, but also it wounds, those deep wounds and cuts, which come about that stay with us, or they're very long lasting wounds that are triggered. And they can be, to some extent, personally traumatic with this 29th degree, which can cause chaos outside of yourself as well. Chiron is square to Venus and also square to Pluto as it comes out of that Aries sign and moves into Taurus. So things can get really heated up, and there's a need for transformation and change, especially within relationships that can be quite traumatic as things are triggered. The other thing that's coming to surface here is that Mercury is the ruler of this new moon, and the new moon sits at 24 degrees, 03 minutes of Gemini. So it's at the latter part of the Gemini spectrum, and that means that it's housing or containing some Aquarius energy, which can be kind of volatile and rebellious. And the need that we could have to break free from certain situations that are really holding us down in some sort of challenge of resolution that is just simply a verbal disagreement. And so you need to be cautious because Mercury at this junction is entering his shadow. Mercury is going to go retrograde at the end of June, and by the latter part of July, Mercury is going to go direct. And that is on the 24th of July. So we have this energy with Mercury that's in Cancer now that is bringing into bear land issues, property issues, housing issues, but also family and family concerns and the connections that we have with each other. It's the talk of planning for family reunions or social events that are coming up through the summer months. And plans can change because Mercury is going to go through its retrograde cycle. And Mercury also at the beginning of the month, newly in Cancer, is going to square Neptune. And Neptune is at the early degrees of Aries. Now, this is a lot of energy with all this Gemini energy. It's really stating, can you unravel the puzzle? Can you put the pieces together? It's really a mind twist in many ways, but it can expose secrets. It can be very deceptive, and things could be coming to light. as we ride the waves of this very watery energy with Mercury there. Mercury can be quite passionate here, and there could be some reviews that we need to take into consideration before we progress forward. Gemini is about documents, signing of agreements. So if you're purchasing properties or land, or if you're making agreements over those, you really need to take a second look at what the words actually say. And you really need to read the documents and just don't rely on promises, because this can really spell scams or underhanded events that are coming underneath that you're not aware of or not certain of. Now, that said, Mercury also is in sextile to Mars, which is the only planet in an Earth sign at this juncture of the year. And Mercury and Mars are working together to say, let's make some action happen, methodical, thoughtful action of initiation that can sustain itself. Venus is newly in the sign of Leo. It starts to warm up the earth. It's just separating from its conjunction from Jupiter, which is spectacular. It's one of the best days of the month when Jupiter and Venus align on the 9th. And you can really get this sense of optimism here. There can be announcements here related to family, births, weddings, and some excitement, some winnings could actually be emerging as well with this energy that is very exciting. So it's really about this energy of coming together as a community and really appreciating one another as comfortable and an easy flow of energy. So the sun is ruling Venus, and Venus, of course, is in opposition or moving into opposition after its conjunction, and it's moving into opposition with Pluto. So this can be a very transformational energy of change within relationships, and even with children, because both Leo and Gemini are very playful signs. And Gemini rules the children, and Venus rules risk taking, the risk taking of creating children. But also, Leo is about having fun, going to the beach, being playful, and educational pursuits lie here. So we could see some changes within the school system or the lowercase educational system. So Venus or Pluto is newly in Aquarius. And in July, Pluto is going to trine Uranus. And it's already within range of this trine. So we can really feel this urge to break free, gain control of our own destiny, and just to be liberated from some of the things that oppress us. And many people or many astrologers are talking about the breaking away from strict rules, mandates, or other oppressive energy that has held us down for quite some time when Pluto gained control over government and government officials. More rules came in. COVID was there. We could feel like we were really controlled and oppressed. That hasn't necessarily gone away. However, many people are frustrated. They're looking to break that mold, that we could see more rebellions, more verbal protests, and people taking to the streets to change the system and to move it towards more of a unified, community based energy that is looking after the community and not the interests of those in positions of power. And the power is shifting with Pluto and Aquarius. The power is going to shift from those people in those positions of authority and power, and it's going to shift back to the people. Now, this trine is connected to 1965 to 1966, when Uranus and Pluto last joined in their conjunction and began their new cycle. So we all know what happened in the 60s. People wanted to be original, authentic, and to experience the freedom through the hippie generation, the generation of love. And this also produced the protests and the revolutionary energy that came along with that against many things that society had been mandating. The trine now can actually bring that into existence, that model of what we wanted to see back then and what we can actually create now. So Uranus is joined and connected to the nodes. And this square or T square, where Uranus is in the middle of these 2 points of energy, can really bring about some unexpected energy that just catapults us out of the past and into the future. This is the threshold that I talk about, where we move from one position to the next. And our whole lives can be transformed through this jolt of energy, or this lightning bolt that is challenging and very unexpected. So things can end very suddenly, and we can find ourselves in a completely different situation. Excuse me. So the South Node sits in Virgo, and the North Node sits in Pisces. And as I was explaining, that's where we need to go. Pisces is the vision, the faith, the belief that we can conquer anything. Virgo is the day-to-day fundamentals of living. So it brings the urge to be more creative, to be more passionate about what we're doing and the quality of what we're doing. Uranus is about those new technologies, like I was mentioning. And so we could really see a new revolution happening in the digital or technological fields. This is also, again, about breaking free, breaking through, and verbalizing this energy outward to somebody else, telling the story, telling your story of what you believe happened to you. And you should tell your story, whether it's small or it's big. It shouldn't be hidden behind something, because it's part of your experience and your transversion through life. So I want you to begin to tell your story. This is a good time to begin a journal. It's a good time to begin to write something down on paper. And it's a really good time to understand where your thoughts come from. Where are they coming from? The muses that visit you during the night, your thoughts and ideas, where do they come from? I believe they come from the ether. It's all contained in in the air. And it comes to you lightning flashing through your mind. Gemini is also about the lungs and about the breath and breathing apparatus, but it's also about the arms and the shoulders and the tensions we hold in those areas of our lives. So this is a really good time to breathe deeply, to just stand outside in the summer warmth, if you're in the northern hemisphere, and take a breath. Just breathe that energy that is permeating all around you. And we can really see a difference if we begin to breathe in the breath. Move your arms, swing them around, swing them in circles. So this new moon will alleviate the tension that you hold. And the area that holds the tension in your upper shoulder area down into your arms. We quite often don't move our arms. So it's a good thing at this new moon to begin that process. So I want you to be aware at this new moon. I want you to be consciously aware of what's happening, what is being said, who is saying it, what are they saying exactly. And you might be really surprised what you discover and where it takes you next. So this is a very fast moon, and it's really going to shove us into a new dimension. So I'm glad I'm back, and hopefully I will see you again. Have a great one. Bye bye.